Is living together before marriage good or bad? In the last several decades, many couples have wondered about whether or not living together before marriage is a wise thing to do. But there are a lot of things to consider before you move in together. First, you both have to examine your intentions and be on the same page about it. In other words, are you living together to see if you are compatible in the same house? Are you living together because one or both of you are avoiding, or putting off, marriage? Ideally, you have to have a long and honest conversation about why one or both of you want to live together without being married. Perhaps, one of you assumes that the other wants to get married, and they don't. Or one has a certain timeline in order to get married, and the other doesn't. Is living together before marriage good or bad? Let's jump into the pros and cons of living together before marriage. The pros. 1. Sharing finances. This could be one of the most popular reasons for living together before marriage. Think about it, most serious couples are practically living together anyway. They keep clothes and other personal items at one person's residence, and they might be there more than they are at their own home. So, in that case, it would make sense to stop paying 2 different rents or mortgages, 2 different utility and cable bills, and so much more. While this is definitely a pro of living together, you have to make sure that you are wise with the money. It is very tempting to spend the extra money you save and not even know where you spent it. A better idea would be to save the money from the other household and invest it in your future together. 2. It's less stressful when you finally get married. But when you are dating or in a serious romantic relationship, you have had a much shorter time to get to know someone's habits. When you are first dating, you don't see, or overlook, some of your partner's annoying habits. But as time goes on, what you thought was alright just gets on your nerves sometimes. So, imagine if you had never lived together before you get married, and then when you move in together, you had a crisis going on in your head. You might think, this person drives me crazy because they never do the dishes. If you live together before marriage, you will go into it with your eyes wide open, and there will be a lot fewer surprises. 3. Become closer and create strong bond. Let's talk about volitional intimacy. This kind is about the commitments that 2 people make with each other. For example, if you decide to buy a house, a car, or a dog together, that means you are making a commitment to each other, regardless of whether you are married or not. And moving in together represents that kind of intimacy. When the couple has all of these types of intimacy in sync, that is when the relationship is strong. So, living together will help you test and see whether or not you can create and sustain these intimacies before you get married. And if so, it will strengthen your bond and make you more confident in getting married. The cons. 1. People not approve. Most people love to let you know what it is, whether you ask for it or not. With that said, it can be very difficult to do something without your family or friends' approval. Many times, religion gets in the way of your loved ones. If both people's family and friends are against moving in, well, that's bad. However, even if one of you has a family that is not approving but the other one is, that can still cause a problem. In extreme circumstances, this can cause people to lose relationships with their family and or friends. So, it's something to seriously consider before you decide to move in together. 2. Lack of support weakens the relationship. So, if you don't have the support of your social system, it will probably impact your relationship, and not for the better. There may be stress and resentment that lurks in the air between the 2 of you. It may be spoken or unspoken, and it might not even have anything to do with the 2 of you specifically, but the outside forces can cause you to have conflict anyway. Living with anyone can be a struggle sometimes in and of itself. So, without a good support system in place, you can put your relationship at risk because it could create new difficulties that you and your partner have not dealt with yet. 3. You will save money, but it could weaken your bond. Sure, you might still have separate bank accounts, but you will be sharing expenses. Decisions like how will the rent/mortgage be paid or who will pay for the groceries and utilities will need to be dealt with, and you may have very different opinions about how it should be done. And then there's the problem of outside and/or individual spending. Maybe one of you is a spender and one is a saver. The saver is going to be upset when the spender spends their money if they think it is irresponsible. In other words, perhaps the people who live together before marriage either do not value serious, legal, or religious commitment as much as those who don't live together. With all of this said, at the end of the day, there really isn't a glaringly obvious answer to whether or not living together before marriage is beneficial or not. It really depends on the people as individuals and the unique couple as a whole. At the end of the day, the choice of whether to move in together before marriage is ultimately between the two of you. As you can see, there is no clear right or wrong answer, it is just as unique of a decision as the couple itself. So, whatever you decide, just make sure that you and your partner have important conversations about it, and you both are very clear about the pros and the cons. Then, just do your best and trust that everything will work out how it's supposed to.